All right, YouTube, we're back here. We're gonna try and start doing this a lot more often. I actually started out this morning and I said to myself, these grapevines are starting to bud out. It's perfect time to cut them. I think we're past our last frost here in Tucson, Arizona. Believe it or not, we had snow on the ground about 10 days ago and 2 to 3 inches here in the valley. And it's just incredible that right now we're at 75 degrees. It's a nice overcast day, shorts and t-shirt. I said I'm gonna bring the kids out and I'm gonna teach them how to prune these grapevines and propagate them. So I started into that just barely, a couple minutes, and I said, you know what, why don't we make a YouTube video out of this? So that's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna try and do this a lot more often. So today it is March 8th, 2019. I'm gonna make 2 videos. The first one's going to be on training and pruning. The second one will be on propagating. So taking these cuttings that we're making and turning them into plants. So let's go ahead and get started here. So like I said, the kids are actually right in the background there, and I'll be talking to them as well and teaching them how to do this. Children's. All right, so this here is a red grapevine. This is 1 year that it's been in the ground. So I put this in the ground last spring. So last spring, it was only this tall. It was about 12 inches. When you get it from the hardware store, I got it from Home Depot. It was what's called a bare root plant. It comes with a 12-inch stick. Just had a couple buds starting to come out, and it was in a bag. So I peeled the bag off, planted it. That was spring of 2018. I put this red grapevine in the ground. So this is what it looked like when it was in the ground. It had a couple little shoots, and I began to train it. So this is last year's growth from this point to here. So this is what you can expect in 1 year. So I'm going to talk to you about a 1-year pruning. Or you're going from year 1 to year 2. So what I'm trying to do, and this is what you have to envision or you have to plan, is what do I want this grapevine to do when it's mature. In year 3 is about when it's its largest, and then after that point you're just maintaining. I'm going to show you another grapevine, a green grapevine that I have just a couple feet away from here. I want to go over this first, but after you set up year 3, which you'll see, you're just pruning, you're just doing the same thing over and over every year. This one is actually in a state where it is going, it's still being trained. I still have to make it go to where I want it to go. So at this point, what I really want it to do is I want it to focus its point at the leader. And its main point. I don't want it to branch off yet. I want it to get up to about here, and then I'm gonna put some lattice across here, maybe 3 feet of lattice, and then I'll train it along the lattice. You'll see the lattice on the other grapevine as well. I'll show you just a second, and you'll get an idea of what I mean for the overall plan. So right now, this one's very simple. Your plan may be different. You may have runners that you want to take this way. I wouldn't recommend more than 4 major runners or 4 branches. So you have branches, which is what this is. This is your main stem, and then you could run laterals where they run out, and then you just keep your canes every year, and those run off of your mains. So for mine, I want to come up higher. I want to train it up higher, and then I want the laterals to go this way. And I'll have 2 on the top, and I'll have 2 on the bottom. And then I'll have each year's growth, and then I'll trim those off. And I'll show you that. But I just want to show you what you do in year 1, or year 1 going into year 2. So I have a couple branches here, and if you come a little closer, you can actually see this is starting to bud out. It's just starting to break out, wake up for the spring. So I'm actually going to take these off because I don't want it to focus or waste any energy. It just started to. I don't want it to waste any energy putting growth down here, down low. So I'm going to also take this off, and I'm going to take this off. And you don't want to cut too close. Maybe give it a 1/4 inch so that you don't damage the main branch. So that's all I'm doing for that one. I'm just keeping that one straight. I took everything off. Once it gets up higher, like I said, I'll take the laterals out. But that's all for that one. So next I will show you, and we'll go to a grapevine that is in year 3 going into year 4. Okay guys, so now we're back over to the grapevine that is in year 3 going into growing season number 4. So this grapevine, like many of you that grow grapes at all will notice, has gotten a little bit out of control. And as it grows and it fills out and it's full of leaves and it starts branching out in different directions, a lot of times it'll get away from you, and that's only natural. Throughout the season, you're not going to do a lot of pruning. You do the majority of your pruning in the winter, going into before you hit spring. I like to prune right before spring, like where we're at right now. I don't like to prune way too soon. So let me just give you kind of a rundown. So year 1 would be about here. And then I'm trying to get this plant up here and go 2 different directions. So I want half of the plant to grow that way, which you can see one runner went this way, and half of the plant comes this way and goes along the bottom of this shaded fence slats here. So the idea here is that once you get the system established, you're just maintaining, like I said before. So I'm going to go into what you're looking for and what you want to do. So like I said, year 1, you're here. Year 2, you're probably just starting to get into where you actually want to be. And then after year 3, you get major growth, where then you're probably getting grapes. Most of the times you're not even getting grapes until year 2 or 3. Sometimes a little longer. So let's go ahead and go into pruning. One thing I will say at this point also, I wanted to point this out in the first video, is that you don't have to have a fancy way of training these up. I just take a random stick and tie the branch to it, because usually, like along the wall here, there's nothing to support that real thin branch and show it where to go. And a lot of times it doesn't have the tendrils to grab onto something. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take a stake or a stick of some type and just place it next to it, secure it. Mine was tied here, and then I had it poked into the ground a couple inches, and it was tied here. And then I just tied it to that branch and trained it up until I got it to where I wanted it to go. Now I don't need that. I took all that off, and it's not there anymore. So it's strong enough to hold itself up. But that will take a couple years usually, especially if you're trying to go more vertical with it. A lot of growers will just grow laterally, probably 3 feet off the ground, and they'll come up with their main branch, so they wouldn't have a secondary there. They would just come up with their main branch, and then they would run 2 this way along a stringer, and they would run 2 this way. And then they would maintain it the way that I'm going to show you. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into what we call cane pruning. So we're going to set up little canes. Okay, so let's look at the branches and what they've done. Like I said, they kind of got away. We have our main runners, and then what we have is what we call canes. So this is where I pruned it to last year, right here. This is what I left 1 year ago. So this is the growth here from 1 year. So what I actually want to do is, and this is what you have to do, you have to decide what you want it to do. Where is it going to go? And that's what you're constantly thinking. Where is that node aiming? If I let a branch, if I keep that node, then that's going to go up there. Do I want that to happen? Do I want to trim it here and allow the branch to go that way? Which I don't. I don't want it to go that way. So this particular branch here, I look at it, what's it been doing? It's come out here. I don't want that at all anymore. So I'm just going to completely take that off. So that's something that grew last year, and I'm going to do away with it. Now in years past, what I needed here is I needed growth here. So that was a potential keeper, but now I've decided I want the growth to be on the trellis and on the fence over here. So you have to decide what you want to keep. So I'm thinning more along the base so that I don't have bushy branches right in here, and I have all my growth is up now where I want it. So let's talk about spacing between canes. Aloha. So check this out. So if you put your finger and your thumb, most people, of course I have a hand that's a little bigger than most people's, but you get about a 6-inch spacing there. So what I do is just the rule of thumb. You use about that space between your canes, just in general, so you don't have to carry around the tape measure, and it just gets cumbersome to have, you know, a tape measure and this in your hand. So you're kind of looking for that spacing. So if you come along here a little bit more, you'll see there's that spacing, and there's a little bit more on that branch. But the thing is, on this particular one, it was going up. So if I had kept one of these two nodes, this one would have been a little close, and I wanted it to start growing on the fence, which is why I kept that one. So that's what I'm saying. You got to keep in mind which canes you're keeping. So here's the cane that I kept last year, right here. So you want to keep on your canes. So here's a cane. Let's pick this cane right here. You want to keep at least 2 nodes. So what's a node? So there's a node. There's where another branch will come out, right there. And you can see it's starting to turn green just a little bit in there. And a branch will come out there. So I want to keep at least 2 there. Because sometimes what will happen is if you cut above the second one, it'll dry out, but it won't go past that node point and dry out the first one. So you want to keep 1, 2. Sometimes what will happen is that first one will grow out. So this is going up into here, and then if you see it, it kind of goes into the back there, and I don't want that. So I don't want this at all. This is in a space where I don't want growth. I want my growth to be along there, and I want just a little bit to be in there. So right now, like I said, you can see it's a mess, but I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna trim this. So what are we going to keep here? Nothing on this one. So we're gonna take this out. We're gonna take that off to the side. This growth, I don't want that there at all. So right now I'm deciding what is going to be happening. So now here's an actual situation where this is more like maintenance, because I'm actually in my growth zone. Here I was just taking out stuff that should not have been growing anyways. And the reason we're doing this is we're trying to focus the energy on the growth of the grapes, because what do we want a grapevine to do? We want it to produce grapes. We don't want a bunch of foliage. We don't want a bunch of branches. We want grapes. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to focus the energy on the plant growing grapes. So here's a cane right here, and this cane has 2 nodes. There's the first one, there's the second one from last year, and then it has, this is actually, so what I did last year, so there's the first or 2 years ago, and then there's last year, and then I have to decide what I want to do here. Do I think I'm going to get growth out of this? Do I see any nodes on here that may possibly grow? I do not. So what do I have to do? I have to go to to the second one, and I have to pick that point. So I'm going to cut just a little bit above that. And then you want to make sure you take out that, because of course, you know, like the Bible says, if it's not connected to the vine, it's going to die. There's no point keeping it on there. So now I'm just going to go through, okay, this, what's that, where's that going to go? That's going to go nowhere but down. Let's take that off. So this, once this pops out, what I envision this doing is I have a node here, and I can train this back up. I'll have runners, like you can see, the runners that come off here go up this way. And they get the most sunlight that way. So I'm just going to go through. Then what I'll do is I'll train this back up and along. I've got a bunch of growth coming that way that I know I don't need anymore. This one, it's in a no grow zone now. Like I say, as it gets older, you're going to find that there are branches that you left because the plant was younger and you needed to allow it to have some foliage to continue to grow. So here's a branch that I'm going to keep. I'm going to go up 2 nodes, but actually I'm going to go up 3 nodes because I don't want this growing straight into here. I want one that's going to come out. So I'm going to pick the 3rd node that's facing out. I'm just going to take everything off of it, and I'm going to come through here. This one's going to come up. That's good. These have already been cut. This has 2 nodes. This is perfect. This one's going to come up this way. I'll probably train it up into this opening. So I'm going to keep that one. I'm actually going to go up above it in case that dries out and keep a 3rd node on that one. There's this one. Your spacing again. I don't have a whole lot here, but I'll train this into this open area. This one will come here. This one will come into here somewhere. And as it grows, you can make changes again. It's not done completely. But the growth, this year's growth is going to come off of these canes. It's not going to shoot out of here. Most of the time, these nodes have dried out. So the new canes are going to have to come off of, and you'll get to learn this. You'll get to see where the new buds are going to bud. Along here it's dried out. None of this stuff is growing anymore. You're not going to get new growth off of that. So you have to pick these points. And you don't want to leave this because every one of these nodes will branch off. And then you'll just have a tremendous amount of foliage and wasted energy in branches and in leaves. And you don't need that much. This one's coming down. I don't want that one anymore. That one's going up. This one's coming over. I got 2 nodes there. Got a node there, so that one will curl up. I'm going to cut it there. This one, just because there's so much here and it's so much farther along, I'm actually going to give it a lot more space. So this is my main runner. So that's the end of that line. And you can see where it's focusing a lot of its energy is on what's thicker. This became the leader versus that. You can see how thin that is coming through. But this year, I want this to get more energy because there's my top runner. So I'm going to trim this here, and this will actually, I'll put something in there to hold that, but this will actually be my new leader. So I'll take that, whatever comes out this way, all that energy, it's almost like a pipe. If you can envision a pipeline, you have your energy coming through, or your whatever liquid, it's going to have to go somewhere. The more branches you have coming off, the more T's that you have in your pipe, the more pressure you're going to lose, the more that volume is going to go away. So it's similar in this instance. So that's going to become my new leader. It's going to focus a lot of energy on that, and then what it's going to do is it's going to bulk that up, and then just like that's my leader. By that I mean that's the part that it's driving. It's continuing. This thing wants to expand and go out. So this was the leader before. It got weak. It's going to start a new leader, and I'll encourage it to do that. So all the rest of this, I have a lot of the bottom part. I'm just going to keep the two nodes again, and I'm going to continue, and I'm going to continue clearing this out. So a lot of this is extra stuff. Okay, so believe it or not, this is what it looked like this time last year, exactly 1 year ago. And all that growth that I took off was from last year. We got a few clusters of grapes. We could have trimmed it a little bit better. Like I said, a lot of times these things, once they get going, they grow. It's hard to kind of keep track of them when they have a ton of foliage on them. But this is what you want to look like. You have your new canes. You have a game plan for them. So this cane's going to grow up into this area. This one will shoot up some runners, and then I'll have a cane here. And when these become established, they have these tendrils, these little grabber fingers that they're going to grab on their own. And that's one of the reasons that I put them on this fence, is because I don't have to come and put ties. See, this is in the first couple years that I had to come out here and put these little ties on them. And these are just bread ties. These aren't anything fancy. I didn't go to the store and find a grapevine tie. These are just ties that I have. Made them work. Like I said, this one, we were going to secure it. So I'll come back, and you don't want to tie it too tight. You want to hold it in place a little bit. So that's what you want it to look like. And you're ready to go for this spring, and we'll try and give you another update and let you know what it looks like as it starts to bud out and we start to get the branches on it and some leaves, some foliage. So this is what you want it to look like. Oh, I forgot something. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take these videos, share them on Facebook. You see something that you think, hey, you know, my buddy, he would like this. Send him a text message. Click that share. It looks like a little box with the arrow. Hit that share, send him a text message. Subscribe. I'm going to encourage you guys, get on the bandwagon. Well, the bandwagon's just starting out. And let's get this channel rolling. Let's spread these good news and get as many people growing as much stuff as possible. Help me out here, guys.